A big welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be at the National Archives. If you are planning on taking a trip to the nation's capital, then seeing the founding documents are an absolute must. I'm talking about the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights. These are the documents that are available to the public. You can actually see them right there in front of your face. So I'm going to take you on a complete comprehensive tour of the National Archives to show you exactly what you can expect. This is the view of the National Archive, which is directly across from the Smithsonian Sculpture Garden, and it is an absolute beautiful building with these huge Greek columns that just kind of signify that there is something very important in there. Now, there are two ways that you can visit the National Archives. One is by making a reservation online, and that guarantees you a visit because sometimes the line actually stretches outside the building. The other is by simply walking up and joining the line. Today, we're going to join the line and see how long it is, and as you can see, it's not very long at all. No matter what time of year you come to the nation's capital, more than likely this building is going to be open. It only closes 2 days a year, Thanksgiving and Christmas. So we're in luck today. The line is not very long, and as you can see, we'll get in right away. One of the best things in coming to the National Archives, as well as many of the other Smithsonian institutions that surround this entire area, is that entry is absolutely free. There is no cost to get inside and see some of the most historic documents in the entire world. If you do come, do prepare to walk up and down steps. However, it is fully wheelchair accessible. However, it does take a bit more time if you have a wheelchair or have mobility challenges. However, you should be able to see it with no problem whatsoever. The prized possessions of the National Archives are going to be upstairs on the second floor. That's going to be the Constitution, again, the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights. All of those are on the second floor. And on the first floor of the entry is going to be some of the more historic documents like the Magna Carta and other significant documents. The big difference between the National Archives and, say, many of the other museums that you could likely visit on your trip to Washington, D.C. is that there's not a lot of stuff here for you to see. Now, I'm going to get into that a little bit later on in the program, but for your visit to the National Archives, there's just a handful of documents that everyone wants to see. And because everyone wants to see these documents, there's usually a pretty long line for them. So this entire building is really designed to hold those four documents: the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights, and the Magna Carta, as well as some other important documents. So there's not a lot to see here. So coming here is going to involve a bit of waiting in line. The only good thing I can say about waiting in line is that the security guards understand that people don't like waiting in line, so they make it fun. They will ask you a lot of questions and they'll give you a lot of information. So it sort of makes waiting in line a bit fun. As you anticipate walking up to see the Constitution and Declaration of Independence, you know, they're going to be asking you questions to kind of prime the pump, to help you understand not only what you're looking at, but also to provide you feedback and information so that you can have a greater appreciation for what you're seeing. Now, once you actually get in this rotunda area where you're looking at the big documents, there is no line. So if you want to sit there and stare at the Constitution for 2 hours, no one's going to tell you to move on. You know, everyone just kind of moves at a normal pace. But if you want to spend time and gaze at the words, then you can absolutely do that. No one's going to stop you. This is my first pro tip to you. Bring a cellular phone. And the reason why is because these documents are going to be light sensitive. What that means is that the more exposure they have to light, the more they fade. So it's going to be a very dim environment. It's going to be hard to see. If you take a photograph with your phone, you can step out of line and then kind of look at the document on your phone, or you can sit there and try to make it out. However, it's quite faded. It's not a great copy. So these are the best copies that exist in the entire world, but still, it's going to be hard to see. One of the downsides about going to the National Archives is the challenge in seeing the documents. This right here is the Constitution. And just about the only words that you can make out, or at least I was able to make out, was "we the people." Other than that, it was really, really hard to see the documents. However, these are the most well-preserved documents in the entire world. Any other copy is not going to be nearly as good. So this is as close to perfect as you're able to get in this lifetime. Most people, I would say everyone, will have a hard time making out the words of the Constitution. The great news is that right next to it are other supporting documents that are a little bit easier to read in the same handwriting type that the Constitution is written in. So you can look at that document and just begin to appreciate what the real document says. Many folks who come and are looking at documents are so focused on looking down that they forget to look up. It's an absolute beautiful building. It's awfully dim, however, because they're trying to preserve the documents. However, it is a beautiful building. Don't forget to look up. There is a heavy, and I do mean heavy, security footprint in this entire building. The last thing you want to do is to violate what these officers are telling you, particularly taking your phone or something that has a flash and using a flash with any of these documents. They will quickly confiscate your stuff. The last thing you want is for them to take your phone and other electronic gear and equipment and cameras and things like that. We just left the second floor, and the images you're seeing right now are actually downstairs. And one of the things I really like about the National Archives is that it has a strong technological component. In other words, a lot of the historic documents that you're looking upstairs and you can't really see or that are in the National Archives are available right here. And this is a very kid-friendly environment where lots of kids from field trips all over the country come here to learn about these important documents and to see them in person. And it gives them an opportunity to appreciate the museum. Otherwise, the museum is quite stuffy, dark, and just kind of like echoey and dingy. However, having this environment where it's more bright and more vibrant is a great environment that kids can actually learn and appreciate what the founding documents of this nation actually mean. However, in order for them to have an enhanced experience, they need to know ahead of time exactly what they're going to be looking at and what's the historic significance behind it. The National Archive is not huge. There's not necessarily a lot to see here. However, 1 million folks visit this every single year. If you want to manage your time, I would give it about maybe an hour and a half. Most of that time you're going to spend waiting in lines. Right now, we're in the Magna Carta and other documents area, and as you can see, it's vibrant, it's bright, and it's very different than upstairs, which is kind of dark and echoey and dingy. One of the things I did not like about visiting the National Archives is the fact that if you just showed up and you did not have a pass, that means you would have to wait in line. However, if you made a donation and the minimum donation was $65, then you could skip the line and get into the building ahead of everyone else. Many of the documents within the building of the National Archives talk about fairness, equality, they talk about Declaration of Independence and things of that nature. And to have a preferred track for people who are wealthy versus people who cannot afford it, is my opinion, kind of takes away from what the major documents in the building are trying to espouse: fairness and equality. It seems like you have one track for people who can afford it and another for those who can't. The upstairs portion of the National Archives that contain the major documents is quite static. If you've been here 20 years ago, it probably looks the exact same as it does today. However, there's a traveling exhibit portion where different types of history are displayed, and this changes periodically over the course of time. So this is what one of those exhibit areas look like, and you can tell there, it's advertised on the front of the building what the exhibit area is, and this is what inside of it looks like. It's very, self-tour. You kind of walk and read and understand, what they're trying to get across. There is a cafeteria within the National Archives, but like all cafeterias in government buildings and the Smithsonian's, they're not very good, except for maybe the African American Museum, which is exceptional. So the best bet if you want to eat something is to go directly outside. There are food trucks all around the nation capital, and their food, believe it or not, is pretty exceptional. While we go back inside and take a look at the gift shop, I'm going to answer the $1 million question. Is coming to the National Archives worth your time and money? Well, it's free, so we know it's worth the money. So the question then becomes, is it worth your time? In my opinion, absolutely. It has some of the most revered documents that change mankind in the entire world. You can actually make a reservation to actually see historic documents for free. All you have to do is give advance notice. In my opinion, it's one of the best bang for your bucks that you can do anywhere in Washington, D.C., or in the world for that matter.